The Rams signed a tight end this morning. Which Rams wide receivers will make the 53-man roster? And we're at number 3 in our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your two-time Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you want to check out the video version of the show, join the fastest-growing Rams YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you really want to support the channel, hit that like button and let us know. What are your thoughts on the Rams tight end room right now? Do they have enough? And which Rams wide receivers do you think make the Rams 53-man roster? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, the Lakers for SI, the Dodgers for Dodgers Nation. Now I'm covering the Rams for Locked On. And today I'm Ryan Solo, Mr. Travis Rogers, the People's Champ. He's on vacation this week, so I'm holding it down. But we've got a jam-packed show for you. On today's show, we continue our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season. We're down to number 3 in our second segment. Which wide receivers will make the 53-man roster? In our first segment, we're talking some tight end because the Rams, they added a tight end this morning. We're going to take a look at that position battle, which will make the roster. How thin is that position right now? But first, a reminder that this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. But let's get right into it. Today, the Rams announced that they have signed a new tight end, signing rookie tight end Camren McDonald. McDonald played his high school ball at Long Beach Poly before taking his talents to Florida State. He was a 4-star recruit. After Florida State, he goes undrafted and then signs with the Green Bay Packers as a UDFA. A few days ago, the Packers released him, and now he's on the Rams. So if you look at him as a player, he's 6'4", 245 pounds, decent size for the position. Athletically, he doesn't wow you. He ran a 4.99 40 at FSU's Pro Day. He had 30 inches in the vertical leap. He covered 9.9 in the broad jump. He did 19 reps on the bench press, and he's really fully developed. Not tons of upside, not tons of potential. Doesn't do a lot of things at a potentially elite level. Is not like a guy who's really raw that you say, okay, we can mold this guy, like a Byron Young or someone like that. But he is serviceable. I think he has the potential to, at the very least, make the practice squad. If you look at his talents, if everything breaks right, maybe he makes a 53-man roster during his career. And really the reason why the Rams did this is because they're pretty thin at this position. They're dangerously thin if you look at the injuries right now. I mean, Hunter Long, he's still in the PUP, nursing that groin injury. Davis Allen is out with a hamstring injury. So they're thinner than single-ply toilet paper right now, and you need to bring someone else in for that position because he joins a group that currently has Tyler Higbee. We know Tyler Higbee, of course. He's entered his 8th season with the Rams. He's a lock to start. Then you have Bryson Hopkins, who's actually impressing. We're going to talk about him here in a second. You got Christian Sims, Nikola Kalinick, and that's about it. Now you add Camren McDonald to that mix. So, yeah, it's a little bit about shopping at the dollar menu at McDonald's when you sign McDonald, but still, this guy, he's had so much potential. I've known about this guy for years, since his Long Beach Poly days, and yeah, it's nice to see him at Rams camp. But if you look at this Rams tight end room right now, let's talk about the locks who are going to make this roster. Let's talk about the depth at the position, starting with Tyler Higbee. So Higbee, one of the only true veterans on the team, the franchise leader in career yards, touchdowns, and receptions by a Rams tight end. He had a team-leading 72 catches last year. He was 5th overall in tight end receptions last year. This season, he could have 80, 90-plus catches when you consider that you still need Van Jefferson to prove himself as a true wide receiver 2. There's a lot of questions about the wide receiver 3 position, so he's going to get a ton of opportunities because you don't have those established 2s and 3s on this team. And yes, he's not a great blocking tight end, but he has been solid in the past for stretches. It's going to be imperative, though, when LA runs those zone plays, when they're trying to get back to their roots and trying to have the play action, have some more run this season, kind of get back to their roots, that he does an adequate job. Because I'll never forget during the 2021 Super Bowl run, when he was out, it was just a different story when it came to the run game. You saw how much success he had in helping this Rams run game during that stretch. But he's a lock. He's going to be fine. We know Tyler Higbee is someone that he's always productive. But the most interesting one to me is Bryson Hopkins. Is this the year that the light turns on for Hopkins all the way? Because last season, he was the best run-blocking tight end on the Rams with a grade of 62.7. He also ranked 20th among 57 qualifying tight ends in the NFL. With Higbee out in Super Bowl 56, Hopkins had 4 catches for 47 yards. Also, he was the one that lured Von Bell down on Matthew Stafford's iconic no-look pass. So he'll always be a part of Rams lore forever for being a part of that play. And he also had a big block on 4th down to allow Kupp to make that grab to extend the game on 4th down on the game-winning drive. So he has experience doing the little things, the dirty work that you need to see from tight ends. And among tight ends with at least 10 targets, Hopkins is 15.6 yards per reception in 2022, ranked 2nd in the NFL. His 10.6 yards on average depth of target also ranked 7th. So he has flashed. There has been moments where you see that potential, and also he is definitely having success. He's been balling out early in camp. Rams.com had this to say about Hopkins so far. Tight end Bryson Hopkins made plays across all facets of situational work Thursday. Besides making a nice catch on an intermediate pass from Stafford during team drills, he was also on the receiving end of a Bennett pass that picked up a good chunk of yardage and helped move the ball during a 2-minute drill. That same series, he hauled in a shorter pass to keep the drive moving. In red zone work, he caught a touchdown pass from quarterback Brett Ripien. So it's good that he's having success. It's good that he's producing. He's making the most of his opportunities early on. And I think this could be a year that if Hopkins gets a chance, he's always had the talent. He's always had the potential. And I think if he gets an opportunity this year, it could be the year. Because sometimes for tight ends, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in year 1. But when the light turns on, it really starts to click. Then really they can take off. Hopefully this is a year for Hopkins. But it's good to see him having success early on. Then you got Hunter Long. So Hunter Long, of course, he was a part of the Jalen Ramsey trade. They get him from the Dolphins. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Boston College. And I think the interesting thing about Hunter Long is the fact that the Rams, he was on their radar. The Rams, they scouted him before he was picked up by the Dolphins in the draft in 2021. So they're familiar with him. They've wanted him on this team for a long time. So I don't think he was just a throw-in. I think there is a chance that he could be a little bit of a hidden gem that didn't get the opportunities in Miami because, look, in his 2 years in the National Football League, he's caught exactly 1 ball for 8 yards. So, yeah, that is minimal production, but I don't glean too much from that because, one, the Dolphins already had an established tight end in Mike Gesicki down there doing the gritty. Yeah, Durham Smythe, who's now their #1 tight end. So, yeah, I don't take too much from that, but also tells you that he didn't earn that from his coaches. I mean, the Dolphins, they traded him for a reason, but still, I do think there is some untapped potential there, but he has to get healthy. He has to get on the field and really learn this system and really start the process of impressing these coaches. But I do think that he does make this 53-man roster. And then you have Davis Allen. So Davis Allen is someone who I think maybe not this year, but down the line becomes a contributor, has a chance to have an impact. I think he's going to make this team as a rookie. I think he brings that upside to the tight end room. He has that wide catch radius. He's got those strong hands. 2nd most touchdowns by a tight end in Clemson history with 12. Jordan Leggett is the only Clemson tight end to score more career touchdowns than Allen did, who had 18 grabs. His dad also, Josh Allen, played linebacker for the Georgia Bulldogs and was voted team captain 1991. So there's that Georgia connection that this team seems to have. And I really do think that Davis Allen, with that, like I said, wide catch radius, has that potential, brings that upside. He's going to absolutely make this team. So right now, I think the 4 locks that are going to make this team from the tight end position are going to be Tyler Higbee, Bryson Hopkins, Hunter Long, and Davis Allen. And we'll see what they get from Camren McDonald. Is he going to impress coaches enough to try to shake things up? There are some positions out there, like the quarterback position, where you're going to have two quarterbacks most likely. That opens up a roster spot by not having a third-string quarterback, and maybe you can use that on the tight end or a receiver or a running back or some of these other positions of need. But coming up, we are talking about the wide receiver room. Which wide receivers are going to make the team? Which wide receivers are standing out during Rams training camp? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. But first, let's talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. August is here, and you know what that means. The official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out best ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is one live snake draft, no waivers, no trades, and Underdog sets your best lineup every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania Tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back and even bigger, with $15 million of total prizes up for grabs, including an absurd $3 million going to the winner. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code LOCKEDON. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy football and the best place for best ball. Best Ball Mania 4 is the largest fantasy football tournament ever. The winner of Best Ball Mania 3 drafted their team in July, so what are you waiting for? So if you're a fantasy football junkie like me, you're going to want to play Underdog Fantasy. I thought the biggest thrill I could get was in 2021 when I rode Cooper Kupp to a big fantasy football championship, but this will be bigger. It's the largest fantasy football tournament of all time. You can win up to $3 million. And what I love, too, is I'm in tons of leagues. I'm always changing my lineups. This one, it does it for you. It takes care of itself. So visit UnderdogFantasy.com and find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code Locked On to get your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday and sometimes on the weekends. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you really want to support the channel, hit that like button, and also let us know which receivers do you think will make the Rams 53-man roster. And also a special shout out to our everyday listeners. We appreciate you watching every episode, listening to every episode, and you can be an everyday listener too. Join the club. Membership is free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. But here in our second segment, we're staying on the offensive side of the ball, and we're taking a look at the wide receivers that are going to make the 53-man roster, ones that are standing out during training camp, and which ones need to step up the most. Now, Cooper Kupp, that goes without saying. Of course, he's a lock. This offense absolutely depends on him to make plays. He's still elite. I think it was an absolute crime that the NFL had him ranked as the 47th best player in the league. But we'll talk about that on another segment. But I think we're going to start with Van Jefferson. So there's a lot riding on this season for Van Jefferson. He has the runway. There's really no competition for him at that WR2 spot. You don't have OBJ. You don't have Allen Robinson. You don't have guys in front of you like we've seen in the past. Really, the number one key for him is staying healthy. I mean, he already has these pre-planned rest days. He's missed 2 days of training camp. They've already planned that out in advance. It's preventative. There's some load management there. They want to make sure he's healthy heading into the season. But last year, of course, he had multiple knee injuries. He wasn't able to have any type of consistency until later in the year. Had that big touchdown against the Raiders, the game-winning catch. So you saw those flashes, and that's really the frustrating thing with Van Jefferson is we've seen the peaks. He definitely has that upside, and he absolutely has the potential to be one of the better deep threats in the National Football League. And you know, I bring my facts to the fight, and the numbers prove that. If you look at what he did in 2021, he had a 63.8% success rate on 9 routes, an 81.5% success rate on deep posts, a 69.6% success rate on deep corners. On passes of 20 yards or more, his 34.6 yards in average depth of target, that ranked third behind Tyreek Hill and Zay Jones. So that tells you right there, this guy has the potential to stretch the field. It's just about staying healthy. I think he has the potential to get 70 catches this year. I think he could get into 900 to 1,100 yard range, even more than that. So I'm definitely high on Van Jefferson. Like I said, it's all about health. Health is wealth for VJ, and I think this is going to be a big year for him. And then, of course, you got Ben Skoranek. He's big. He's physical. He's going to move those chains. He's going to do the dirty work. You can line him up at fullback. He, of course, is going to make this roster. He has been dealing with back soreness, so you need him to get to 100% as well. But yeah, I think Ben Sko, we know what he does for this team. We know how important he is for this offense, and just having a different club in their back. I mean, that's what you need, and that's what I like about this receiving core is, yeah, you just have one elite player, but you have a lot of depth. You have a lot of guys that can do different things that can help you win games on the offensive side. Then you have Tutu Atwell. Now, Tutu Atwell, you guys know I've had his back. We know that there's a lot of people out there that think that he's going to be a bust, that they're just always going to talk about Creed Humphrey, right? They're always going to bring that up. But look, Tutu Atwell, I think this could be the year that the light turns on for him. You saw during Matthew Stafford's mic'd up session, he went over to Tutu and he said, I like that S, if you know what I mean. It was really pumping him up and really complimenting him. And he said, you're getting there. So to have Stafford have his back and know how important he could be to this offense, I think that's big. The number one thing for Tutu, he can't be a one-trick pony, right? If you're a one-trick pony and all you're doing is stretching the field, you're not going to be able to be worked into this 11 personnel offense, because once this offense gets going, it's about keeping really the same three on the field from the receiver spot for the most part. Maybe he mixes it up this year and you see them go with different players for different plays. If you need a first down, you go with Sko, or you go with Tutu. If you want to stretch the field, you go with Puka. If you want to do some different things, that's a possibility. But to kind of give that deception and illusion, you want to stick with the guys that you think you're going to go with, those three right there. But Yarbers said about Tutu during training camp, the Rams wide receiver coach, that gives him great ownership of the offense. Tutu playing all the spots and moving around, it helps his development big time. He gets to learn the intricacies of the offense from every position's perspective, and he's been doing a great job. He takes pride in it. In being a smart athlete, he is very, very sharp as an individual. So that tells you that you're going to see him at the Z, the F. He's learning different positions. So I think that's definitely a very positive sign about Tutu Atwell, is that he's playing multiple receiver positions. And sometimes it takes a couple years to really lock that down, but I think he's in a good place right now. And then you've got Puka Nacua, and Yarbs had this to say about Puka. I love what I've seen from Puka, how physical he is, how fast he plays. The game is not too big for him. He's not going to look overly impressive in laundry, but when the pads come on, when the clickety clacks and the hitting starts, that's when he's most impressive. You can see it in how well he stays grounded, catching the football, running through the catch, and making it hard for guys to tackle him. So that tells you right there that he's winning over his position coach. McVay's had a lot of nice things to say about him. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. So he continues to ascend. We told you in an earlier episode, the everyday listeners will know that he was taking kicks as a kick returner, working in the return game. So, yeah, whether it's the F position or the Z role, he's going to contribute in some capacity. I think that this is going to be the biggest rookie receiver contributor since Cooper Kupp back in 2018. I think that's how high this organization is on him. And then, of course, you got Demarcus Robinson. We talked about him at length a few episodes ago, and I just think there's a lot of positive momentum with Demarcus Robinson and this Rams offense. You've seen him make big plays down the field. I think his veteran presence has rubbed off on his teammates and his coaches, and I think there's a really good chance that he makes this roster and really carves out a role with this receivers group. And then, of course, you got Tyler Johnson. We've talked about him. He's someone who can make tough contested catches. I think there's a decent chance that he makes it. And also Eric Yarber, the receivers coach, he had this to say about the two veteran additions. He says, you know how we talk about it in our room. You've got to be a complete receiver. Both Robinson and Johnson, they have bought into that, and they believe in that also. So that tells you they're heading in the right direction. And McCutcheon, there really hasn't been a lot about Lance McCutcheon. He's been quiet. We know how good he was during preseason last year, but when he got his opportunities during the regular season, he struggled to gain separation. He struggled to make plays. So I think that he could be the odd man out, but I also think, too, there's a chance they could take 8 and you could see him playing special teams. So I wouldn't rule that out as well. And how about Xavier Smith? Not a lot of people talking about Xavier Smith, but he was a walk-on at Florida A&M. He was a UDFA signing for the Rams. He's 5'9", 174 pounds. At the FAMU Pro Day, he ran a 4.38, a 4.42 shuttle, a 7.19 three-cone, has a 36-inch vertical. So he's not crazy shifty. He's not one of those gadgety types. But he's more of a cut-and-go type receiver, north-south guy, has that burst. He can get in and out of breaks. So, yeah, he's someone that we'll see. I mean, he has experience in the return game. I think that really could be his best chance of making this team. Doesn't have crazy long arms, so I don't know if he's going to be someone you can look at to get those tough crossers or contested catches or stuff like that, but could be a north-south guy. I mean, I think he definitely plays bigger than his measurables, so we'll see if he gets an opportunity. But, yeah, you look at that right there. I think that really is your receivers group as far as the names that are going to be contenders. I think you got those locks. And then towards the end right there, you got Demarcus Robinson, you got Tyler Johnson. We'll see what happens with Lance McCutcheon, but this could be the year that he is the odd man out. But coming up in our final segment, we continue our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And one more reminder, we are available over on YouTube, so if you want to check out the video version of the show, join the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and let us know which Rams wide receivers you think make that 53-man roster. But here in our final segment, we continue our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season with number 3, Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp, we know how good he is as a receiver. When he's on the field, he's absolutely elite. The only thing that needs to happen is he needs to stay healthy. He's already been banged up during training camp. He's had that hamstring injury. It looks like we dodged a bullet, but hamstring injuries, they do tend to linger. So you're definitely going to proceed with caution. I want to see him at the very end of preseason. Don't want to see him in a game. I want to see him in street clothes, in Rams gear, not with a helmet on, right? I want to see him in Seattle for the first game of the season, and that's about it. But if you look at the year he had last season, 9 games. He missed 8 games with that ankle injury, had 98 targets, 75 catches for 812 yards, had 6 TDs, had only 1 drop, had 105.8 passer rating when he was targeted, and he was on pace for 142 receptions, 1,534 receiving yards, 11 TDs on 185 targets. And we know he does the heavy lifting. When he went out, he was accounting for over 35% of the Rams' yards from scrimmage. So they absolutely depend on him. I think a little too much. They need someone else to step up, and I think that's going to help him stay on the field. So this year, it's pretty simple. He stays on the field. Fantasy-wise, you're going to get the production, right? You're going to get the numbers. But for this offense to carry this team like they're probably going to need to, they need other guys to step up. You need Van Jefferson to be the guy at the WR2 spot. You need WR3 to be held down, whether it be Skoranek, whether it be Tutu, whether it be Puka Nacua. We'll see what they get out of Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson, some of these other guys. So really, it's absolutely pivotal that someone else brings something this season. You can't have Kobe Bryant surrounded by a bunch of Smush Parkers, Michael Jackson surrounded by a bunch of Titos. That's not going to take this team to the next level. Yeah, his stats are going to look good, but I don't think it's going to translate in wins and losses because he can't do it all by himself, because then you also don't want Stafford just to lock onto him, right? That's not something that really helps this offense in the long run. And last year it was supposed to be Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Van Jefferson. This year, Van Jefferson, he's got that big opportunity that we talked about earlier. If he steps up, he makes things easier for Cooper Kupp, then I think it's going to help him stay healthy and stay on the field, and he's going to have some gas left in the tank if this team does go on a playoff run and they do make the postseason. So, yeah, I mean, he's absolutely... The offense goes through him, right? I mean, that's just the reality, okay? We know that is going to be the case this year, but he also turned 30 back in June. When you start to get north of 30, that's when the injuries start to pile up. So you want to keep him as fresh as possible. Look, he's already had one of the greatest seasons in NFL history. We know that you could probably cut that season in half and still make the Pro Bowl. That's how great it was for him in 2021. That really isn't the goal for him this year. For me, it's about him staying healthy and him producing in a way that other guys guys are able to have success. And the reason why I have confidence that they will is Tutu, he's had a few years to really learn the system and get things going. He's in a make-or-break year. Van Jefferson, he's healthy. He's going to get the opportunity. You have Puka Nacua, like I already said, I think is going to be the best Rams rookie receiver since Cooper Kupp. So I definitely think there is a plan. There is a path for Cooper Kupp to, one, put up the numbers, but two, have the surrounding role players be able to help him and help Matthew Stafford as well. And I can't emphasize that enough. And also, too, the running game. The running game is going to be big as well. And I also thought it was very interesting what Cooper Kupp had to say a few weeks ago, and that the receivers, they can help the offensive line, right? The precision of their routes, getting in and out of breaks. They also play a role when it comes to pass protection. The quicker you get open, the quicker that Stafford can release that ball, and the less time the offensive line has to protect him and keep him vertical. So, yeah, Cooper Kupp, he's fully accountable with that, too. I think that his leadership by example has rubbed off, and I still think he's an all-world receiver. He's top 5 in my opinion. I think you can make the case that he's top 3 when healthy, and I think he's going to have a monster year. Him, Donald, and Stafford, they are on a revenge tour this season. They're out to prove they're still some of the best in the game. I think they've been disrespected in a lot of these preseason lists, but I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a massive season for the Rams. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?